everyone, this is Three Men, One Review. I'm Billy.
I'm James.
I'm Christian.
Today we're reviewing X-Men Apocalypse. Bryan Singer returns to direct the 9th installment to the X-Men franchise. This stars James McAvoy as Professor Xavier, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, Sophie Turner as Jean Grey, and Jennifer Lawrence returns as Mystique. This is the story of events that take place after the Days of Futures Past. It shows the effect that Jennifer Lawrence and Magneto scene at the end of Days of Futures Past has had on the world and mutants, and how that's motivating more mutants to take action. Our initial reaction, Billy, what did you think?
I thought it was very good. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Christian?
No, I'm gonna have to disagree with Billy. I wouldn't say it was bad, but I thought it was pretty disappointing overall.
I'm kind of on the same opinion as you, Christian. It wasn't bad. It was nowhere as good as what I've come to expect from Bryan Singer X-Men film, though. What's your specific complaints / praises?
Alright, some complaints that I had, like, some of the... It didn't really feel like there were a lot of consequences, and the praises, I thought it was a good next chapter. I loved all, like, the comic references and stuff. Christian?
My biggest complaints were all the characters in it. They all felt really underdeveloped.
I mean, that's with, like, every X-Men movie. There's tons of...
Well, I don't know, Days of Future Past was just a lot more focused.
Yeah.
This is my biggest complaint about the movie. It seemed all over the place. Praises, I really liked Professor Xavier and all the scenes with Magneto and him. And then, I like Jean Grey, and that's about it.
Well, my complaint... The reason I really didn't like the movie is because they were trying to introduce all these different origin stories, all these different subplots, and it took away from the development of the main story with Apocalypse, and that's where the film suffered. The flow of the movie was, here's this, here's that, oh yeah, and Apocalypse, here's this, here's that.
I agree.
And, yes, it just... They're trying to set up too much for future films, too, and it just took away from the main story with Apocalypse. The praises I have, the acting was always good. Everyone did a great job. There were a lot of entertaining scenes, a lot of cool cameos, and a lot of good Easter eggs. What did you think about the various origin stories, Billy? Scott Summers, Nightcrawler, Storm, Four Horsemen?
I thought that they were all put in there pretty well. Like, I didn't feel like Nightcrawler was just jammed in there, or like Scott or anything. Like, I can understand maybe like the Horsemen were a little bit like just like jammed in there, and they didn't really serve much of a purpose beyond just being there, like being some thugs. They could have developed them a bit more, but I mean, I wasn't expecting much development there. I just liked seeing them. I thought that Olivia Munn was awesome as Psylocke, even though she didn't really get a lot of lines or anything. I was looking at her and I was like, that's Psylocke from the comics.
Christian?
I thought it was all forced, especially Cyclops. He didn't really serve much of a purpose in the movie.
I disagree with that.
I mean, and Storm.
You can't have a
especially.
Jean Grey without having Cyclops.
But like James said, they're just trying to introduce all these origin stories, and it really took away from the movie overall. And Storm was... I like Nightcrawler a little bit more. I thought he was introduced well. But Storm felt really, really forced.
I disagree with Storm. And one thing that I really liked about like Storm, especially in the ending, in the beginning of the movie, they set up, oh, Mystique is my hero. And then at the end of the movie, she sees Mystique fighting Apocalypse, and she's like, holy shit, I'm on the wrong side.
I just thought it's a lot of things that happen really convenient, like Apocalypse walking out
Yeah,
and just seeing Storm all
I
of a
can
sudden.
see that. I'm willing to suspend
The
my
way he
disbelief.
gathered up all the horsemen was really forced.
How?
I just felt like it was done really quickly.
Well, how else are you going to do it?
Maybe
Are you
not
gonna
have
devote
a
30
story about all these different origins, have a story about Apocalypse and its plot.
Yeah. Maybe just have the characters in there without introducing them. All the characters in the school already.
Well, my thoughts on the topic, I'm with Christian. They were trying to do so much, I think. The origins were also underdeveloped, like Apocalypse's storyline, and certain characters felt forced, like Christian said. Storm felt really forced to me. Scott Summers, I did like his introduction. Yeah, they seemed like they gave a little bit more time to him.
You looking at my girl?
That's exactly the kind of thing I imagined he grew up with, trying to control this thing, scared of hurting people, and people ridicule him for it. Again, I don't think they did a good job of balancing all these different things. What did you think about Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse, Bill?
I thought it was really good. It was really good. I thought the acting was good. I loved it when he gave the speeches and his voice would raise and change and echo. I thought that was amazing. And I thought that the costume looked good. His motivations, they were a little hazy. I understood it because he was just going for a survival of the fittest. He wanted a world where all the mutant people, his children, because, they're all descendants of him, because he had the first mutant gene. And so he just wanted survival of the fittest. And so I understood his motivations, though they were a little hazy. Christian?
I thought he looked great and sounded great, and the acting was good, but like Billy said, he just was really underdeveloped motivations. I don't know why they were all of a sudden awakening him. They didn't really give a reason for that.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Well, it was because the sun was hitting that little
okay.
thing, and it was sort of reviving him or whatever.
Well, I just thought he was they just should have focused a lot more on him.
What I did think was really cool was in the beginning when they established that the mutant that he was transferring his essence to, his consciousness, they established that it had a healing factor. And then later in the movie, when Mystica Psylocke cuts him in the throat, it heals. I thought that was really cool.
Well, my thoughts on the character, Oscar Isaac's an incredible actor. I thought he did an amazing job. He was menacing and frightening as Apocalypse. He nailed every line he had. The costume looked great, looked straight out of the comics.
Maybe not straight out of comics,
It
but I
looked
thought
pretty
it was
dang
good
close.
adaptation.
Yeah. My complaints... Well, he had a good premise. I mean, it was underdeveloped, like you guys said. His motive, I guess, strongest survival of the fittest is what he was going for. But what I didn't get is why all these mutants were so eager to follow him, especially Magneto. He wants to harm the humans, but he's never, ever, ever wanted to harm any mutants. And he wanted to destroy the entire world? That doesn't make sense.
He got Magneto in his weakest point.
I still don't think it makes
Yeah, I
sense
thought
with the
Magneto
character.
was a little bit too
I disagree because
quick to follow him. It could have been more fleshed
He
out.
went through, and his whole hardship was him going through World War II and the genocide. And now he's going to do it himself? It just didn't make sense to me. That's my thoughts on it.
I understood what was going on with Magneto.
Alright, well, what'd you think about Sophie Turner's Jean Grey?
I thought that she wasn't bad, but it wasn't wow, she's so amazing as Jean Grey. I just thought she was alright. Nothing to write home about, but it's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Christian?
I thought she was good. She was one of the more developed characters. I liked how it showed the relationship of her and Professor Xavier.
Her accent sounded a little off to me.
Really?
Her English, her American accent?
I just hear her in Game of Thrones. That's all I hear.
Sure.
I thought overall she was one of the stronger characters in the movie.
My thoughts on her, I know we were all pretty excited when we heard Sophie Turner was going to be Jean Grey, because we're all used to watching her on Game of Thrones.
Except this guy.
I don't have any complaints. She wasn't bad, she just didn't do anything that really impressed me as a character.
As a character, I thought the Phoenix was awesome.
That wasn't her acting that made the
Oh.
Phoenix.
I don't care. We're talking about Jean Grey. in general, right?
Anyways, I thought the character itself was fine. I think we just need to see more of her in this role. What'd you think about Evan Peters' Quicksilver scene, Billy?
I liked it. I thought it was a great sequel to the first Quicksilver scene. I thought the song went perfectly with it. As soon as you see the bee slowing down and flapping, and then you hear the bump boom bump boom boom. You're like, oh my goodness, this is fucking happening. It drew me completely into it, and I loved it. And when he was saving Moira, and he was like, I thought it was hilarious.
Did you think it was better than Days of Future's Past scene?
I'm a bit partial to that scene because it sort of started it, and I just love Time in a Bottle. So I like that one a bit more just because it's the original one.
Okay.
But I think that they're about on a level playing field.
Christian?
I liked it more than Days of Future Past because it had more consequences to it. The whole school was blowing up.
Except that the consequences weren't
I mean, yeah.
there at the end.
But just the
Except
way
for
he
Alex
went
died.
through every room in the mansion and set it all up. And
I love it
I
when
thought
he,
it was funny.
did the thing to the kid's hair.
I love the scene. It was a very entertaining scene. Like you said, the song was a great choice. Evan Peters is just such a good actor, and I think he's like one of the really underrated actors we have.
Tate, you're my hero.
He's great in American Horror Story. I wish he'd get more chances in more movies, bigger roles. But the only complaint I had about it was that they kind of set up this fun and humorous scene, but then they make it serious all of a sudden, turn it around, and Alex dies, and you're like, oh, well, now I kind of feel bad for having such a good time.
I understand. You know what bothered me a little bit? When Stryker and all the guys come out and they shoot like that Sonic thing, Quicksilver should have been able to like run away or whatever, because in Days of Future Past, that scene starts when those guys are racing their guns.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he was tired out from doing
I think
that.
there were a lot of problems that, like, if you can do this, why don't you just do this?
Yeah.
Like with Apocalypse, why don't you just disintegrate the X-Men?
I feel like he didn't want to kill the mutants.
Yeah.
That's what I thought when he just.
Yeah.
Why did Apocalypse choose to do his body switch with Xavier right during the time he's trying to destroy the entire world?
I didn't get that.
I didn't even think
I
about
don't
that.
understand
I
that.
didn't. Yeah.
That whole scene.
It just it's just lacking logic, honestly, to me.
I didn't even think about that actually.
Well, let's move on. What'd you think about Wolverine's part in this story? What'd you think about the scene?
I loved the scene. It was awesome. I thought that it was it followed what happened in Days of Future Past. He got caught by Stryker or Mystique Stryker or whatever.
It doesn't make any sense, but okay. It was cool. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good continuation of that.
Christian?
Yeah, I thought it was a great scene. It was one of my favorites. But like Billy said, it just didn't make any sense with the timeline. How with Mystique as Stryker.
I'm willing to believe that Mystique was caught and she had to escape.
Yeah, but I loved it. That was a great scene.
Mm-hmm.
The scene was awesome. That's what we all want to see. Wolverine just going crazy and killing everyone in his path.
And
the whole thing with William Stryker, though, them all getting captured by him,
It was pointless.
It was just taking away from the main story. It was unnecessary. It didn't really fit. I mean, I love the Wolverine scene. It just didn't all fit with the movie. They kept trying to do too much, introduce too many characters. The whole thing had no implications on the further film. It was just a waste of time.
Well, I mean, I did like how
I
Jean
feel like they
Grey
just did it for Wolverine.
gave that thing gave like the bit of memory to Logan, and that like explains his infatuation with her. I like that.
Well, that's what we're going to get to next. What is the effect of what Jean Grey did to Wolverine's mind? Are they pushing the character back towards the storyline he had in the two first X-Men movies, or do you think they'll go a different direction with the character?
I think that they're going back. Well, actually, I don't think that Wolverine's going to really be in much more because he's just really going to be in the last Wolverine movie. I think that they're going to do X-23, but yeah, I don't really think that.
Christian?
I don't really think it's pushing the storyline back. Because, like Billy said, all we have left is really the Wolverine 3. I'm not sure what else is afterwards, but I don't really think it had a huge implication on the entire movie.
Yeah, she's obviously helping him remember part of his past life. It seemed like they were going back in that direction, though, like the same storyline. He has to team up with the professor, remember his past life and all that, and solve the mysteries of his past life. But I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to revisit that.
They should have.
Timeline's just so screwed up.
They revealed that in the trailer. X-Men Wolverine. That's
Yeah,
why
you
you
saw
don't
his
watch
fall.
trailers. That's why I didn't watch the effing trailer.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
But Doomsday.
Do you think it's difficult to make a great X-Men movie without Hugh Jackman's Wolverine? Does the movie suffer? Does X-Men movies suffer with a lack of Wolverine?
No, not at all. It's X-Men. It's not Wolverine and his amazing friends. See, mostly every X-Men movie is a Wolverine movie, and it rustles my jimmies because it's supposed to be about X-Men. Take First Class, for example. It had one scene with Wolverine, and he was like, "Fuck off."
And it was awesome.
I think that's my favorite X-Men movie, and I love that movie. They don't need Wolverine.
Christian?
I think I agree with Billy. They don't need Wolverine to make a good movie because First Class was great, and but I think he really helps with the movies like Days of Future Past.
Sure, he's a good selling point.
And then when they make standalone movies with him in it, they're okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's.
I don't think he's as
I think it's just all
interesting
about-
enough of a character to carry.
I
his
think
own movie.
Magneto and Professor Xavier are probably
The more
the
interesting.
more interesting. But I
They're
still
what carry the
love Wolverine.
movies.
Well, my opinion on... I do think it's difficult to make a good X-Men movie without Wolverine. Hugh Jackman, before First Class, was the anchor point of the X-Men films. And he's the thing that brought cohesion.
That's because he's a pretty face.
He brought cohesion and structure to Days and Futures Past. He connected all these characters. There wouldn't be a transition between them without him. He had to be there. And no other actor could have done it. Hugh Jackman's a fantastic actor.
I do
yeah,
like
I'm
him.
not disagreeing
I
with
do
that.
like in Days of Future Past. I would just focus on him the entire movie.
Well,
was
he's the only actor on that cast I think is talented enough to bring the two sides together. What are the implications of Jean Grey using the Phoenix? What does this mean going forward, Billy?
I think that we'll see a Dark Phoenix saga down the road. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Christian?
I thought it was. I didn't really know what it meant. I mean, I was confused by Days of Future Past. How at the end Jean was still alive, so that means X-Men 3 never happened. And
How is that confusing?
her using the Phoenix. I don't know if it has any implications going forward.
No, I
Yeah.
could.
I just
Because
don't.
how does it happen?
Yeah, fair enough. She'll survive.
I mean, she can.
Yeah.
She seemed like she controlled it in the movie.
She has to overcome it,
Yeah.
according to Days of Futures Past.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So I thought it was
That's
just
cool.
something cool to see.
Or maybe it's her clone, Madeline Pryor.
Now, my problem with that is we already know how it's going to end.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Bryan Singer, for letting us know no one's going to die in
None
the
of
rest of
them.
these X-Men movies.
Or we
Yeah,
know that
that's true.
Beast, Wolverine, Jean Grey,
Scott
Xavier,
Summers.
Scott.
and Scott are
Storm?
going to die. Was Storm wasn't in the
No,
first
she
one.
wasn't. At the end.
No.
Anyways.
That's
Well, after the events of this film, it appears Magneto has changed his point of view and sided with Xavier and the X-Men. Do you think things will stay like this, Billy?
I think that they're always going to have differing viewpoints and ideologies, and at the end of the day, they're going to unite together because they know that the fight is bigger than them. So even if Magneto takes a more hostile approach than Xavier does, I think that ultimately they're going to share a somewhat similar opinion.
Christian?
I think things won't stay like this because I feel like he thinks he's always Magneto. But I think eventually, way down the road, they'll team up.
Like at the end of Days of Futures Past, Magneto was like, "We spent too many years fighting."
Yeah.
They
I think
came to
it'll
terms with
eventually
each
happen.
other.
Oh, we didn't see Magneto at the end when Wolverine came back, so we don't
No.
know what happened
Yeah.
to Magneto.
Still, but there's never mind.
All my thoughts on it is X-Men has always been about humans discriminating against the mutants. It's a metaphor for the civil rights movement.
Really?
Xavier's Martin Luther King Jr., Magneto's Malcolm X. This is the most interesting aspect of X-Men, and it's not going to go away. They're going to keep that aspect, that tension, the discrimination of the mutants. And, but I do like seeing Xavier and Magneto work together. In X-Men First
Oh, yeah.
Class, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's why
And
it's
I
my
mean,
favorite
those
movie.
two team up. They're probably the two of the
Unstoppable.
most powerful mutants in the world,
Mhm.
top 5. And who can't they defeat if they're teamed up together? That's my opinion. What's the implication of the end credit scene, Billy? Where do you see Essex?
Mr. freaking Sinister, Nathaniel Essex. That's what we're gonna get.
Christian?
I thought it was setting up for the next Wolverine movie. I really liked seeing it.
I
So
think
that
that
was-
we're gonna get X-23. That's like a female clone of Wolverine. So we're
In the
probably
next Wolverine movie.
or like to replace Wolverine
Mhm.
in like the future like X-Men
Okay.
movies. I just hope that the next X-Men movie isn't going to take place in the 90s because I don't believe that those characters were 20 years older than they were in
Yeah,
First Class.
that bothered me.
I'm okay with Xavier and Magneto. I saw a few more wrinkles in them, so I can believe it. But Alex and Hank and Moira, I don't believe it at all.
Well, I had no idea what Essex Corp was, so I did some research, and my research led me to see that Mr. Sinister has some sort of connection to Jean Grey and Scott Summers' son, who has a connection to Deadpool. So what it seems like they're doing is bringing Deadpool into the fold with the X-Men films, into that
He
universe.
may be in X-Force. Hopefully, Psylocke will be in X-Force too.
Yeah, well, I think that's what the teaser was leading towards and hinting at. What was your favorite scene in the movie, Billy?
Probably the Quicksilver scene. I mean, who doesn't like that scene, you know? And really, any scene where Apocalypse is talking, he's like, and his voice is changing. I loved every one of his scenes where he's all authoritative and talking.
Christian?
I really like the scene where Xavier and Apocalypse are fighting.
Oh, that was
in their mind.
I love the part where like he punches him and
And
then
it
like
grows
the
bigger.
when like the walls start to build up
Yeah.
and stuff. I thought it was awesome.
Oh, that was a good. I thought the final fight was cool.
And
Overall.
like Jean Grey comes in.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Well, there are a lot of good scenes in this movie. It's hard to choose. I love Wolverine's scene. I love Evan Peters' scene. But I think maybe the best scene was honestly after Magneto's family gets killed and he uses the metal and
Oh, that
just goes
was
through
badass.
everyone's neck.
When that happened in the theater, I laughed because it was just awesome.
Oh, it gave me chills. It
Mhm.
was.
That was a sad scene.
What was your overall rating, Billy? Out of 5 stars?
I give it 4 out of 5. I love the movie. I recognize it has its flaws, but I think that it was a very good movie.
Christian?
I give it 2.5 out of 5. I just think it was all over the place. It was a mess. It wasn't Batman v Superman bad, but it wasn't great.
I give it 2.5 stars as well. It was severely undeveloped, trying to cram a lot in there, trying to set up a lot for future films. A lot of stuff that needed to be in there that wasn't there, so it was messy. 2.5 stars from me. Where would you rank it amongst the other X-Men movies, Billy? Give us your top 5, and let's include Deadpool in this.
Yeah, I was because that is in my top 5. But I haven't seen X1 and X2 in forever, so I don't know where they would rank on my list. But I can give you my top 3,
Please
and it's First Class, Days of Future Past, then Deadpool. I don't know where the rest rank below that, but I know that Apocalypse is definitely above Wolverine Origins, Wolverine, and X3. I know it's above those, and I know that's below the 3 that I mentioned.
Christian?
My top 5 would be Days of Future Past, probably X-Men 2, X-Men 1, then the Wolverine, and I would put X-Men 1 at number 3, First Class at number 3, and X-Men 1 and the Wolverine. And Apocalypse is definitely ahead, like Billy said, in front of Origins and X-Men 3.
My top 5, number 1, Days of Future's Past. It's as close as perfect as an X-Men movie can be.
Fair enough.
Tie for 2, First Class and X-Men 2. It's really hard to choose between the two for me, so I put them at a tie, number 2. Number 4, I would do Deadpool, and number 5, X-Men 1, probably.
Well, this is 3 Men 1 Review. Appreciate everyone watching. You have a great day.